I'm Richard Gerhart, founder of Gearhart Law, full service intellectual property law firm.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, not a lawyer, but I work at Gearhart Law doing the marketing, and I have my own startup.
Welcome to Passage to Profit, everyone, the show that talks about entrepreneurism, small businesses, and the intellectual property that helps them flourish. Today, we have Mike Rose from the Academy Service Group. He's an amazing guy, amazing businessman, and really, really funny too. So,
and a Gearhart Law client.
Yes,
and we had him on the show before, and we didn't really do him justice. So we brought him back because we wanted to hear more.
Absolutely. He's a repeat offender, as we say in the business.
And then after Mike, I said this is a sweet show at the beginning. It is a sweet show because we have Rachel Kellner and Mark Libertini with Aigner chocolates in Queens, New York. And then we have Carolyn Babrite with Javamelts, which is a coffee sweetener. So, and Mike Rose, of course, roses are sweet. So this is our sweet show today.
Very, very clever of you. I really think that was quite a bit of good wordplay there. But before we get to our distinguished guests, it's time for IP in the news. And today, we're going to get into a kind of a weird trademark dispute. It's taking place in Colorado. Two different restaurants are using the term campfire. And the first one is called Campfire Evergreen, and the other restaurant is called Colorado Campfire. Right.
I think Colorado Campfire was the first one.
Right.
Was using it first.
Right. And so the funny thing is if you look at the logos, there are some similarities, but they're mostly different, in my opinion. The only sort of similar feature is a picture of a campfire in each logo.
Well, and the script is kind of the same with the campfire word, but they're both restaurants, but they serve different food and they're in different places in Colorado. So
I'm kind of scratching my head as a trademark person looking at this and saying, well, first of all, Campfire Evergreen versus Colorado Campfire, right? I mean, the words are in different places in the names, right? And the test for trademark infringement is similarity in sight, sound, and meaning. They look different, they sound different to me, and Colorado Campfire sounds like a campfire in Colorado. Campfire Evergreen sounds like
it's actually in Evergreen, Colorado. That's why it's Campfire Evergreen. The location is Evergreen.
So but the really funny thing about this is that people are genuinely confused between the two restaurants.
Well, that's what they say.
They say that there's a lot of people calling one restaurant expecting to get the other.
So, right. So she says customers would place an online order with Colorado Campfire, mistakenly show up at Campfire Evergreen to retrieve it. This is what Colorado Campfire general manager said. So there's still phone calls confusing the two eateries. I mean, all I can think of is that people have imbibed substances before they look for
it is in Colorado after all. And when you're hungry, you don't really pay that much attention, right?
No. But they are suing for trademark infringement, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the other thing, Richard, that I found was interesting, and you can tell me about this, is that Colorado Campfires filed for a trademark on the National Trademark Register, but they're only in Colorado. So,
right.
So can they even get a national trademark if they're just doing business in Colorado?
Well, if they are just doing business in Colorado, they can. If you want a federal trademark registration, you have to be doing business in interstate commerce.
Which most people are these days, but
yeah, I mean,
if
they have customers coming in from out of state or something, or if they're close to the border, then it's possible. So
anyway, so I think the takeaway is just be careful what you name your company and try not to get confused with anything else. But I do want to also give credit to the person who wrote this article. It was on Westword. It's Denver's independent source of local news and culture. And the author was Amy Antonation, and they published it on August 8th.
Right. So anyway, it's time for Richard's Roundtable. After all of that, I really hope that you have a few comments. Mike, you're up first. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Richard. Thank you. Elizabeth, thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you back. So what do you make of all of this?
I think it's Colorado, right? You know, hey, they made it legal. People are getting confused. You know, like it is what it is.
Rocky Mountain High.
Some people get confused walking in their own door. I just don't understand it. There's obviously no correlation between the two. They're not near each other. I'm confused as to why people are confused, you know, so.
You said it perfectly. I'm like, why are people getting confused over this, right?
That makes no sense to me at all. But, you know, I was thinking about what you had said about the national trademark, Elizabeth. You know, such as the other guests that we have here today, they market on the internet. Now that gives them a global presence. Mm-hmm. Does that make any difference when it comes down to trademark infringement or getting a trademark?
Sure. So having an internet website in and of itself doesn't give you business and interstate commerce. You really have to have customers that are logging onto your website, ordering stuff, or you have to be shipping to people outside. But just because you just because you have a website in and of itself does not give you enough of a right to get a federal trademark.
But with SEO and, you know, some of the things that they're able to do online with marketing companies today, isn't there a way like on the front page of listing other states so that people will find you?
Right. And it's pretty much presumed that if you're on the internet, it's your website is available globally. So the question is are you really doing business with interstate? So if you're advertising and targeting a particular region for potential customers, that could work. But if you're just using keywords that are more generic in nature, it's a tougher sell. It is really fact dependent. So
right on. Right. Yeah. You know, when you said people sue, you know, these guys are suing each other and the one guy's suing the other guy. People could sue for anything these days. I mean, and people get offended over everything. And I just wish there was some kind of law or some kind of bill passed that could kind of suppress some of that, because I think it's a little bit out of hand these days.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If you think about how much business the other side is losing because of this, or whether they're gaining, people have spent a lot of money on advertising and investing in their brands, so they get annoyed when somebody else, there's a sense that maybe somebody's trying to copy them or, you know, trade off their goodwill. I mean, a lot of disputes are just purely emotional. Like we don't know the backstory of how often the restaurant owners went back and forth complaining to the other person, and finally somebody just said, hey, to heck with it, I'm going to sue this person. Now, I've had restaurant cases in the past that are very similar, where the owners of the restaurants went back and forth for 10 years telling the other one to change their name, and it just turned into a big ego contest, and eventually there was a lawsuit. So, yeah, it's really weird how these things evolve, and it's not always a matter of common sense.
Now, here's one case where I wish there would have been a lawsuit, because Richard and I went out to Sedona, Arizona, and we had his assistant book the hotel, and there were 2 hotels with Adobe in the name. And we ended up
in the bad Adobe hotel, not the good one, the bad one.
There was definite confusion there.
So Adobe is not just another application.
No, it's not just another software.
It's actually a town.
So, now, as for lawsuits, I mean, we all heard about the McDonald's case years ago, or even I think it was Wendy's just recently, where there was a cup of coffee that was spilled on a person's lap, and they were claiming 2nd and 3rd degree burns. I can imagine what would happen with Rachel and Mark's chocolates if they were to ship out in the middle of August, sending them to me. I would have 4 lawyers calling them saying, my chocolate hazelnut melted, Mark, and it's your fault.
Well,
how are you going to fix this?
That's why we put a disclaimer on our website. And I want to circle this back to what you were just sharing about, Richard. Nobody reads.
No, of course not.
So that's really, I think, what's happening with the Campfire dispute there is nobody's really reading. So, and we notice that because we get shipments all the time, and we say it's your responsibility if we ship you chocolate out west and it's 90-degree weather. But
Yeah. And then as a business owner, what do you do under those circumstances? I guess you just eat it, right? If you pardon the pun.
Hey, I'll eat melted chocolate. I'll eat chocolate in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter to me if it's melted. I'm down for it. However, so Carolyn, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, so I actually think that if I had a business that was experiencing something similar that the restaurants are, I would turn the negative into a positive, and I would look for a solution rather than blame somebody else. Clearly, the names are not in the same order. There's a lot of differences, but I'm going to go with Rachel and say that people are in such a hurry that they aren't really truly paying attention. We're all in a very distracted world. So I just feel that if I were the restaurant owner, and I hope maybe they might be chiming in or somebody who knows them, take the negative and try to figure out what the solution can be. So if your hostess is answering the phone, taking takeout orders, make sure you clarify which restaurant you are. Say, just confirming you're coming to this location. If they're ordering online, put in big, bold letters, maybe right under the restaurant name, please make sure you visit us at this location. I think there are a lot of things that they could be doing with their money and their energy to turn it into a positive situation, because anytime I feel there's any negative energy brought into my life or my business, my family, friends, whatever, it's a major distraction. So that's my thought on it.
That's brilliant. You know what? They could also partner up and give each other a referral fee or something,
Right. I mean, it's
brilliant.
It's really, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in my opinion, even as an attorney, it's silly that they're wasting their money on this.
Yeah.
And lawsuits, especially for small businesses, take a lot of time and they suck a lot of energy. And, you just go down this rabbit hole of negativity. Right. And sometimes that's the way it has to be. But, to be focusing on what's going on with your competition in that kind of way, to me, is they're losing their momentum.
Except they are getting publicity on a nationally syndicated radio show.
Well, I bet they planned that, right?
So they are getting written up in the paper.
That was part of their plan all along.
Maybe it was just a marketing strategy.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because I had a cupcake bakery back. We opened in 2005. And with a previous employer, I had signed a non-disclosure and a confidentiality agreement. And within 6 months of opening, we were getting sued by my previous employer, saying that, I stole her idea, I stole her recipes. And Richard, I'm sure you know that recipes cannot be trademarked. She took us to court, and it turned into a media circus for us. It started what was called the Cupcake Wars here in New York City. So it was our bakery, and then it was Magnolia, which is the biggest cupcake bakery in New York, and then another bakery. And we were the new kids on the block, and we had a huge front page article in New York Magazine, and it put us on the map in very good company. And sometimes I wish we would get sued more often in that. Because,
I'm sure we can help you with that. If that's
Richard, I'll be your guy.
That's a great story. They can't be trademarked, but they can be patented sometimes, the food recipes. So we actually patent quite a few food recipes. Yeah.
But in this case, though, it sounds like it was just a big mess. But like you said, getting publicity in the New York Times is probably turned out to be a positive. And I assume that you eventually ended up settling this or doing something like that, or did it go to trial? Or
it was thrown out when their lawyer started arguing that we stole their Rice Krispie treat recipe. The judge threw it out at that point.
Oh my God.
Pretty much lost it at that point.
Yeah, I wasn't in the courtroom, but I wish I'd seen the look on their lawyer's face.
Yeah. The old Rice Krispie argument never wins. I can tell you.
No, you're not going to win that one. Yeah. But even closer to home with Aigner chocolates, we're We take our name from the family that we took over the business from. Their family name is Aigner, and they're Austrian, and they've owned it for 3 generations. And this is before we took over the business, but we were told that the shoe company Etienne Aigner sent a cease and desist letter to the owners back in, I guess, in the early 2000s, because they thought that they were taking their name. And from a shoe company or a fashion company, to chocolate company, completely different. As soon as they were able to prove that this was their family name and this is what they named the chocolate shop after, that was pretty much squashed also. So
yeah, that's a stretch.
Names are really important. So, but now I think that was a great discussion. Thank you, everybody. I think it's time for Richard, to interview Mike. Right?
Yeah. So with us today is Mike Rose, founder of the Academy Service Group, which is really it's really a group of companies, Amazing Pest Control, Heritage Fire Security, National Cleaners, Paint Folks, and Veterans Worldwide Maintenance. So really, Mike has got his hands into a lot of different pies. And he says here that he graduated from the School of Hard Knocks, which, knowing Mike, I think is spot on. So welcome to the show, Mike.
And thank you, Richard. Good. Thank you, Elizabeth, for having me.
It's really great to have you back. And so I think, you've had so many companies. First of all, how do you manage all of these different companies? And the reason I ask is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that have several ventures, right? And so instead of just one. So how do you manage to manage multiple companies?
Who says they're managed well? That's not true. Actually, we do very well. I have some great people with me right outside my office. I sit in a clear glass office and I'm looking at a call center. I have a president, I have a full corporate structure, operations, HR. I have people that have been with me 22 years, 23 years, since the beginning of when I went into the national business, and I trust them and they trust me. I'm a firm believer in treat people the way you want to be treated. Sometimes that works out very well. Sometimes it doesn't work out very well. People do take advantage of that sometimes, but the management of the businesses I watch my KPIs, my key performance indicators. I know what I'm looking at. I'm checking balances, watching the revenue streams, watching the client base come and go, watching employees, watching their attitudes, watching all these things. And we just kind of make it work. And it's been working very well over the past few years. The last company that we opened was Heritage Fire Security back in 2018, after I had sold a much, much, much larger company back in 2012. Previously, I had grown the largest privately held fire protection company in the United States. When we started taking over, coast to coast, and then we went into Canada, we went into the UK. That just kind of helped morph us into a bigger business. Where I'm not a very corporate guy. My people are. My president of my company is a very corporate guy. He wears a tie like you. I own like hundreds of ties, but I never wear them. You know what I mean? This is who I am. This is what I am. And the thing about the School of Hard Knocks is I wasn't a great student. I was a terrible student in high school. I didn't make it past high school. I went through high school. I graduated. But when I took my high school, final exam, I got put in a room with 12 other people, and we were allowed to copy off of each other because we were that poor as students. And I was like the best of the bunch, and they were all looking at me for the answers. And I think we all passed because of my exemplary student skills. But what it is I'm a people person, and I like to trust people, and I like to believe in people. And this has gotten me very far. It truthfully has.
Well, let me ask you a question on that, because that's very interesting. I tend to approach my business the same way, is that I would rather trust people and get screwed once in a while as opposed to trust nobody, because I just don't think that that's an effective business strategy. But correct. If you do find yourself in the position of, trusting somebody that you shouldn't, how do you deal with that, reconcile it, emotionally? Does it bother you? And how do you get past it?
So I use it as energy, right? When somebody does something very negative to my business or my revenue or something to a client, obviously I disperse them, they're gone. And then I just use it as more energy, because I think that the best way to get even with somebody or an adversary or somebody that attacks you is to just become more successful. And I grab that and I just focus and I just keep driving. And then I look in the rearview mirror and they're sitting back there driving a 1986 Impala station wagon, and I'm driving a brand new Ferrari. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, we have some notes on you from our assistant who's amazing. And there are a few phrases that you like to say. The one that I like out of these is watch me do it. Is that what you say when somebody says, oh, that can't be done, or you can't do
All the
that?
time. Yeah, so it can be done. And people are constantly, they can't do this, they can't do this, they can't do that. I'm a firm believer in anything can be done if you work hard enough and if you just put your mind to it. Like right now, for example, my personal weight loss, right? My daughter got married 2 weeks ago, and I was big. I was a big guy. I was 326 pounds, almost 330 pounds. I said I'd get to 275 by the wedding. I gave myself 6 months. I got down to 280. Now I'm lower than that. I'm lower than the 275 I meant to be at 2 weeks. Now my new goal is 260. I'm just going to keep driving towards these goals until I hit them. And the business is affording me the ability to be able to do that because of the management team. I could leave here at 3 o'clock, go out to a trainer and have him be trained and get all tough and strong. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you look pretty big there,
yeah, it's 6'1", I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm not a small guy, but it is what it is,
That's
so
great.
I'm curious because, as you said, you've sold companies and done very well in business. Where did you start?
Probably when I was about 11 years old. My dad was big into fireworks. He loved fireworks, right? So in the basement of our house, come around May, June, he would start receiving cases and cases of firecrackers, bottle rockets, Roman candles. We all know what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The fun
What
stuff.
I was doing is he was bringing them in. I was selling them out the back door for cash at 11. I thought I had 7 boxes of these. You only got 5 now, Dad. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. So I just started hustling fireworks. And then I think it was 15. My brother-in-law had an older Chevy pickup truck, and he was selling it, and he was getting like $200 for it. So I gave him the $200, and I started driving that around my hometown at 15, cutting people's lawns and just doing things for them. And I started to get, business. I started to raise money, and I started to deposit money in the bank. My fellow's like, what are you doing? What is this? And I said, Dad, I got a business. I had like 75, 80 accounts where I was cutting people's lawns in my neighborhood. And the way I did that was I went around and I wrote down on a piece of paper, high school graduate, soon to be, looking to save money for college. And not that I planned on going to college. Like I just told you, I hated school. So I stuck this in their mailboxes, and everybody felt like, wow, they were helping this young man get to college. So it just worked out really, really well. And then just things like that always worked out for me. And just, if you always give people what they want, you'll always be happy, and they will too.
That's great advice. So if you were an entrepreneur starting, well, you are an entrepreneur, but if you were starting a business now, what are like the key things that, an entrepreneur should be thinking about before they take the leap?
So there's different websites out there that I use whenever I go to open up a company, that I use all the time. Number one is I always want to make sure I could get the URL for what I want to do, right? I love having my name as my URL. Like if you went through each of my URLs, they're all my company name: amazingpestcontrol.com, heritagefiresecurity.com, nationwidecleaners.com, veteransworldwidemaintenance.com. And they're all tied into the academyservicegroup.com. And you have to have that URL, and you have to have a nice vanity phone number. So there's another website that I use to find these vanity phone numbers. Like 1-800, got milk. If you're selling milk, you want that phone number, right? People, it's easy to remember. So little things like that help me get along. And then the other thing is really knowing where you want to go before you even start. I can't drive to California without a roadmap. I know Route 80 is going to take me from Jersey to California, but if I don't have the roadmap, once I get to California, where am I going to go from there? Do I want to go to Venice? Do I want to go up to San Francisco? Do I want to, go down to San Diego? I need to understand what my end goal is. I back into equations all the time. Like, I want to make 5 million this year. How am I going to do that? Where am I going to get that revenue from? Where am I going to get that money from? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And then I just back into it. And that gives me the map. And it just seems to work for me. It may not work for everybody, but it works for me. And having unbelievable energy and sleeping like 4 hours a night always helps too. And I'm sure both our groups here of entrepreneurs, Carolyn and Rachel and Mark, they're going through the same thing I've been through, where there's sleepless nights, there's worrying about shipments, there's worrying about products, there's worrying about employees, there's worrying about your 2-year-old that got sent home from school yesterday, there's worried about your 17-year-old that who knows who she's dating today or whatever it may be. You know, so you got to worry.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that I had a corporate job before I started Gearhart Law, and I worried then too. It was just about different things. So if you're taking your work seriously and you care about what you do, you can't get away from it no matter what you do. And if you're not worrying about your job, you're worrying about your health or you're worrying about your family, just the worry's always going to be there, right? So you just got to kind of accept it and, power through it. If you get a bad night's sleep, you just got to power through it and just do as much as you can. Right. And
and you can't give up, Richard. You can never, ever give up. No. Even when things are super negative and you think your back's up against the wall and the noose is getting tight around your neck. All you got to do is wiggle a little finger in there. You wiggle a little finger, that's going to give you enough breathing room, and it's going to give you enough inspiration to keep going and drive. Just don't stop. Don't worry about what's behind you. Worry about what's in front of you. When I pass somebody, I never look back. I'm always looking in front of me. And that's, I think, one of my biggest attributes is that I don't like the past. No matter how successful, no matter how bad it was, it's the past. It's behind me. I can't change it.
Right.
Well, that leads us kind of into something I wanted to ask you about, Mike. So you say you have a business team, but you started these companies and you led them yourself for quite a while.
Yes.
So what leadership qualities do you think really helped? And how do you show leadership? Like, people are like, be a good leader, be an inspiring leader. Like, what do people see when they see a good leader? How do you show that?
Well, it really comes down to this. Tell me it can't be done, and I'm going to show you how to do it. You know what I mean? Everybody here on the screen's done the same thing. We've been told no. We've been told you can't do this. No, you have too many other things going on. You can't concentrate. You'll never be able to run a business. Michael, you hated school. There's no way you're going to be able to have this happen. I've had PhDs that are in my employment, MBAs. At one point, I had over 600 employees. I mean, people that were super educated with law degrees, I had a lawyer, in-house counsel work for me. I mean, these guys went to school and they got all the brain power. All I was able to do was bring them together, put together the company, put together the processes, have the perseverance, and have the patience to watch these things grow. You can't make it happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. I'm sure, Aigner chocolates took a long time before you guys became super successful. And Carolyn, your flavored sugar is incredible. You know what I'm saying? And that took a long time to develop. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. You started first with maybe your mocha brand, and then you went to your other brands and your other flavors. So you just got to keep going. You just can't stop. There's a difference between an entrepreneur or a business owner and somebody that just gets up every day to go to work. It's drive, it's determination, it's the ability to take no and turn it into a yes. And it's the ability to have a real negative day and forget about it all and just start over again tomorrow, because you know what? Every day is a new day. Don't worry about the past, worry about the future. And Rachel, Mark, your chocolates are fantastic. Carolyn, and by the way, I got my discount coupon from logging onto your website. So I'll be placing my order today. And Carolyn, I'm still waiting for your discount coupon.
Well, we want our discount coupons for Academy Service Group too, by the way. I could
Guaranteed,
use,
sir.
I could use some
you had a
pest
problem with your air
control,
conditioner, you could have called
fire
me.
security, and cleaners.
But I think I love this starting over every day, because we all have really bad days. And I pretty much have to start my diet over every single day.
You don't fail until you quit, right? Don't we all know that? You never fail until you quit. So as long as you never quit, you're never going to fail. As long as you continue driving, you'll be fine. Ooh,
that
20%. That's better than their 10%.
Oh, Carolyn just gave us
a
message.
Give me that coupon code.
Carolyn, how did you know what our discount was?
Anyway, we have to take a commercial break. We'll be right back with more Passage to Profit after this.
Welcome back, listeners. You're listening to Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, and our special guest today, Mike Rose, who is just amazing. And during the break, we had people talking about how Mike can mentor people in need that they know. And Mike's going to have his hands full after this show.
Mike's getting hit from all different directions.
But we have some more questions for Mike. Mike is a very successful entrepreneur, if you haven't been listening, and he's built and sold companies with just a high school education, and he has formed teams that are very effective. So, Mike, you're giving advice to entrepreneurs. I kind of want to ask you, how important is the marketing to what you do?
It's important. I mean, you know, to me, well, I don't have anybody that does just marketing, right? So I don't have the most glorious of LinkedIn pages or Facebook things or Instagram things. I'm old school. I pick up the phone and I call a prospective client and I tell them what I could do for them, and I lay it out for them real easy. And then I'll follow up with an email, and then I'll you know, just continually call up and follow up, and I'll eventually win the business. I know a lot about what it is that I do, and I know how to save people money because I've been doing this very long. I'm not a young man. I'm not an old man. I'm just a fired up man. I am like juiced up and ready to go. And marketing has its place in America, but I don't sell like that candy chocolate or that flavored sugar where it's a product. I have to sell based upon relationships. You know what I mean? Because what I got to do is, like, let's say for Richard, let's say you were having a problem with your air conditioning system in your building, and it became very uncomfortable with you. No marketing in the world is going to help you cool down that house, right? You have to get somebody out there. They have to check the leak. They have to fix whatever the problem is, and they have to get it working. Once I do that for you and I give you a fair price, and my technicians are educated, they're clean, they're neat, they're considerate, the pricing is fair, you come back every time. And it's simple. All you got to do is treat people the way you want to be treated. And that goes not only to your employees, but that goes to the client base. You're not going to get rich on any one person. And if you beat somebody up over the head, they're going to go away. It's like if you pick up the little frog in the garden when you're a kid. My grandfather told me, you keep picking up that frog, he's never going to come back. He's just going to go away because he doesn't want to be picked up by you. So, you know, you just got to treat people with respect, whether it's a frog or anything, and just keep driving. And marketing, I mean, websites are important. Marketing, the phone numbers are important. Remember what I talked about phone numbers, the vanity phone number, the vanity website. You got to have that stuff so people can find you. But I'm a different kind of salesperson. I just get it done. I just go out and sell, you know, and if somebody says no, that's okay. You could say no today, but you're going to say yes tomorrow.
I got to ask you something that's a personal interest of mine. So, do you do generator maintenance? I'm serious.
Yeah, we do. So where you guys were? Short Hills? Where are you?
What?
We're in Summit in Chatham, New Jersey. Summit. Yeah.
All right. So now I'm going to tell you a secret to my success. All right. Ready? Here it comes. All right. I do nothing. Okay. I have all these people that work for me. I have business from here to Hawaii, from here to London, up in Canada, Tijuana, parts of Puerto Rico. And I have 4 technicians that drive trucks. Everything I do is I hire another company to do my work. I subcontract out my work to other companies. So for example, with your generator maintenance, I have a guy that does my properties. M&M, dude is awesome. I would send him to you. He would charge you, let's say $500. I'll charge you $150 on top of that. So you would see a bill of $650, but you're going to be very happy. Now of course I wouldn't make that markup on, but you know, this is what it would normally be. And
that's about half the price of our
every
competition.
year I'll come automatically back to your place. It'll be on schedule, because with Generac generators and the Kohler generators, you have to change that oil once a year. Otherwise you could seize the motor. You have to make sure your battery is charged. Otherwise it won't start. You got to make sure your disconnect switch downstairs in the basement or wherever it may be is all clean and all the contacts are good. Otherwise, if there's an emergency, the generator won't start. It takes 5 minutes to explain things to people so that they understand why they're doing it. Nobody likes to pay for something and they don't understand why they're paying for it. But I'll tell you, just like with your car, the oil change on your generator is extremely important.
Okay, I'm calling your company after the show.
Fair enough. You two
Well,
can go to
that-
my website.
I think that's
Okay, I'll go to the website.
we'll
I'll
go to the
schedule it.
website. No, but it's I really love the way you lay it out, because making sure that the client understands what they're paying for and what they're getting for what they're paying
Huge.
for is huge, right? And if you have somebody that just comes in and they don't talk to you, they just say, okay, it's done. You just assume that everything is taken care of, but you're not always, you don't really know whether that person really knows that everything that has to be done in order to maintain the generator and that they've done it, right? So
Oh, so many times I've had people come to my own house, not my technicians, but for example, my pool guy comes to the house. I have a leaky pipe in the back or something's wrong with the application. They come, they don't even tell me they were there. They just send me a bill like 30 days later, and I don't even know what they did. And it still doesn't work right. And I get upset with that because you didn't inform me of what you were doing. You didn't do exactly what I wanted you to do. I didn't even know you were going to go there that day. So communication is really, really huge. Just think about like with chocolates, right? There's so many different kinds of chocolates that you can have, right? There's a Belgian chocolate, right? And then you could go, not to say that you would ever want to do this, Carolyn, but you could go sugar-free, right? You could have a sugar-free chocolate. You could have a sugared chocolate, right? Tastes are completely different. One person loves the sugar-free. If they take the sugar, they're going to have a diabetic attack. They're going to lay on the floor, flip it out, have enough seizure because they had the wrong kind of chocolate. The other guy that loves the sugar in his candy or his chocolate, I'm sorry, pardon me. The one that loves the sugar in his chocolate, he gets the sugarless chocolate and he wants to throw it away because it doesn't taste right. It doesn't taste normal. So, if I'm explaining to, let's say, Carolyn, this is sugar-free coffee or sugar-free chocolate, she's going to know what to expect when she goes to take a bite, right? If she's expecting sugar, she won't be expecting it anymore. So just tell people and be honest. And it's the best way to be. I mean, I don't know how these guys do it where they don't communicate. That bothers me. It really does. I don't understand how they're successful. Companies like Verizon, AT&T, you're paying for stuff you never even get. I'm
Right.
convinced that those big companies, and I don't want to get sued, Richard, so please take this out.
well, okay.
Okay, no,
I don't want to get sued
scratch
either,
that.
by the way.
No
All right, so let's
company
forget about
names.
No, but I just saw the other day, Verizon now $30 a line. How come mine costs me $350 a month? Like, what are these people doing $30 a line on Verizon? I don't understand how they do that.
I compared utility bills, and for a business, the utility bills are like triple what they are for a residence.
Yep. And why?
Same
What's
block.
the difference in the electricity?
Right.
It's the same product. Maybe I
Right.
use more of it, but you're still charging me more per kilowatt. And
'Cause
that
it's a
makes no
business.
sense.
No.
It's got to be against the Floyd-Packman Act of 1968, I think it is, where it has to do with pricing.
I have never read the Floyd-Packman Act of 1968.
Well-
I'm surprised that you would even bring it up on the show. But
So Mike,
so anyway,
yeah, I want to, so we should probably
Okay, move
get
on
back to what the
something
show's
else.
supposed to
I'm sorry.
if I'm an entrepreneur, and which I am, but I only have so much money right now. For me, I'm working on my website, and of course I hired somebody to do it because I'm not a website specialist. What's the best way to approach it? For me personally, I did everything I could myself, and then the one thing I really needed that I couldn't do, I decided to pay for. How did you approach it when you were starting your companies if you only have so much money?
Yeah. So I did everything myself.
Okay.
That's just what it was. I did everything, and I didn't have websites. Like when I started, we didn't have websites. Picture this, all right? I first started with portable fire extinguishers, okay? And my first big account was the Gap Corporation, and I flew out to San Francisco. And I don't know if you guys remember a place called Kinko's.
Yeah.
FedEx
sure.
Kinko's, right? I went there, and I didn't have any marketing team or anything. And I spent like $1,000, and I had the guys from Kinko's take pictures of other people's buildings, of central station monitoring. And I plagiarized this whole little portfolio of my company. I made the whole thing up. And I brought it out to San Francisco, and I made the presentation, and it went off without a hitch. And what happened then was I achieved I think it was 1,500 portable fire extinguisher service calls. And they said, well, how are you going to get this done? And I said, well, I'm just going to utilize my network of contractors. I'm going to sub it out to my contractors, and I'll get it done within 30 days. And they said, okay, we're going to give you the contract in 2 weeks. I said, okay, perfect. I had no contractors. I had nothing. I couldn't just Google fire extinguisher service company in LA. So what I did was I called the LA Holiday Inn and I said, hi, how you doing? My name is Mike Rose. I'm looking to buy fire extinguisher service companies in the LA market. I'm going to be staying in your hotel in 2 weeks. Would you mind ripping out the fire extinguisher companies out of the yellow pages and faxing me those pages so that I could call them because I'm looking to buy these companies? In every case, they did that. They took pictures of the yellow pages of fire extinguisher service companies. They sent it through the thermal fax machine. I ripped it off the thermal fax machine, and then I would call. And I did that in every state in the United States within a week. And I set up an entire vendor network for these fire extinguisher calls that came in. When the call came in, I subcontracted it. They went into the field. 30 days later, everybody mailed me back their paperwork. I paid all the contractors. I think it was $25 each store that was being done. I charged the GAP $37.50 per location. I made out on the deal. Everybody was happy, and it was a home run. So no matter what kind of diversity or obstacles, there's always a way around it. You could do anything as long as you set your mind to it. You really can.
And you're willing to put in the work, because that was a lot of time and effort. And that was probably pretty boring for you. Right?
It sucked. It sucked, man. But you know what?
I think that's an inherent characteristic of an entrepreneur, is that you will take on responsibility even when you're not entirely sure how you're going to follow through with it, but then you make it work, right? And then
100%.
You're an entrepreneur is willing to take those kinds of risks. Now, I would never advocate making stuff up, but by the same token, if you're confident that you can do it and you do it, then then that moves your company to the next step. And most entrepreneurs have to take those risks.
I know, like with my associates here, Carolyn and Rachel and Mark, I'm sure they've taken equal amount of risk. I'm sure they've put in their family jewels on the table, ready to get cut off at any given moment. And you know what they did? The truth of the matter is they're here today because of their success, their determination, and their perseverance and their persistence. And that's what gets you here. And Elizabeth, I'm telling you, with your website, it's not hard to do, but you're probably better off hiring somebody. Nowadays, you can get that done really cheap. If you go to Fiverr, you ever hear of Fiverr?
Oh, no. You know what, Mike? Thank you. My website is incredibly complicated for what I'm doing. So I had to hire somebody that could do the back end. I mean, I had a website I did myself, but it wasn't robust enough to handle what I'm trying to do. So I'll talk about my company a little bit, but awesome. we're gonna wind up pretty quick here. But Mike, I can't let this segment go without asking you, Mike, do you have any intellectual property?
I got American Express Black Card. That's pretty damn intellectual if you ask me. So yeah, I have a couple of things that are very near and dear to my businesses that really make a difference, right? The one thing is that how I originally met Richard Gearhart was he helped me with a patent idea I came up with on a range hood fire suppression system. And Richard was awesome, man. I got to tell you, I've dealt with other patent attorneys before, but this guy helped make it easy for me. He really did. And I'm not just saying this because you're here, Richard. I would say this. I've said this to other people about you, that he was really he was very helpful with the drawings, with the documentation, with nailing every piece of this patent down so that nobody could come and just take it away from me. So that was well spent money, and I was very happy to do it. And I've not been challenged or ripped off yet. So that's pretty cool. The business itself has other intellectual things, like fire alarm software. We have some proprietary stuff that's very just us, and we only have access to it, the programming codes and things like that. So those are protected very well. But yeah, my business is, I snake toilets, man. We clean toilets, we clean buildings. We do fire protection systems. We do pest control. We kill bugs, rats, rodents, scorpions in Arizona. We've moved alligators out of Florida, Georgia. Painting. I have a national painting company now that's doing all the Walmarts. We're painting all Walmarts. It's a home run. I mean, it's like
that's great.
It
Well,
really is.
Before we jump off, though, I did want to say thanks for those kind remarks, Mike. And I have to say that I thoroughly enjoyed working with you. So you're a great client as well as a great business guy. So
Yeah,
thank
you
you
know.
The
very
check
much
did
for
clear, huh?
that.
That makes a difference.
Well, we're still waiting for a few things here and there, but
I'm so happy, man. I was wondering about that one.
Anyway, we've got to jump off now for another commercial. This Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, our special guest, the one, the only Mike Rose. Welcome back, everybody. It's Passage to Profit once again with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, and our special guest this evening, or our special guest, Mike Rose. And he's just been a barrel of fun. And we're going to move on now to Fireside. This is Elizabeth's weekly Fireside
it's not
update.
Fireside anymore. I'm
What
sorry.
happened?
Well, the trademark office said there were too many trademarks that had Fireside that could maybe be close. So they're sitting on it, waiting to see what these other trademarks do. But I don't want, to Carolyn's point earlier, I don't want to be fighting people over my trademark. So I'm going to change the name. So I have an advantage. I'm not a trademark attorney. I would only do this for myself. I would never do it for anybody else. But I could go research trademarks myself on the USPTO site. And so I'm looking at names. I'm looking, to Mike's point, at the URLs and also at the trademarks. And I think I'm in this group. It's a peer advisory board. And one of the guys in the group came up with a name that I think is going to work. So we were talking about trademarks earlier. You could have intent to use. So if you think of a trademark you want to use, you can file as intent to use, and then you have to go back and do all this other stuff when you start using it. I think it's just easier to start using it, right? And just file it.
Yeah, I think if you can do that, then that's a great way to go.
So I might just stick it on the website that I have now and then build it into my new website.
Right.
What?
You have to, anyway.
What? Have to what?
You have to show use in interstate commerce before you file a federal trademark, though. So I mean, just sticking it on the website
is not going to be enough.
I don't know. But
it's not going to be enough unless I interview somebody in another state.
You should ask a competent intellectual property professional.
I think I will. I think that it would be a longer discussion than we have time for here.
Right.
But I do have one other thing I want to say. Usually Kenya does her power move segment, but it's Kenya's birthday week. So Kenya's not here. But I do want
birthday week.
Yeah, she takes off her whole week for birthday. I want to give a shout out to this incredible lawyer in New Jersey that I know. His name is Richard Gearhart. So there's a New Jersey publication called ROI New Jersey, and they decided to start a list of influencers in the state. And for their first time doing it, it's a relatively new publication. They chose lawyers. And so what they said is these are the best of the best attorneys in New Jersey. And Richard made the list. Yay.
Yay. Well,
so shout out to Richard for being the best of the best.
Well, thank you. It was an honor. And I'm not exactly sure how they found me, but I'm glad that they did. And I hope that it'll just help Gerhart Law and move forward as a team. It's not just me, obviously. It's a whole organization that contributes to that kind of reputation. So it's an honor that we share.
So congratulations, Richard. So now on to, I know, the sweet segments everybody's been waiting for. We're going to talk to Rachel Kellner and Mark Libertini now with Aigner chocolates. And as I said before, they make the kind of chocolates that I really like the best, and they're in Queens. So I'm not going to say anymore. I'm going to let them talk about them. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so thrilled to be here today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what is great about your chocolates?
That's a great question. That's absolutely a great question.
A lot of great things.
Yeah.
Do they taste good? I mean, do they taste good?
Do they taste good? Yeah, I mean, they taste kind of good, I get. No, they're fantastic. So my name is Rachel, and I am one of the co-owners of Aigner Chocolates, and we make and sell really delicious chocolate, and we spread joy and hope to communities through the magic of our chocolate. So Aigner Chocolates is one of the oldest chocolate shops in all of New York City. It was established back in 1930. Our chocolate makes you look young, as you can tell, and skinny, skinny and young.
I better start eating it today.
Wow, it's a miracle chocolate.
Isn't it? It's incredible, right? So all of our chocolate is actually made in-house in the exact same place that it's been made for the last 92 years, using antique equipment and recipes that have been passed down through the generations. These are Austrian style chocolates, and the recipes that we're using have been used for the last 60 years. So we focus on helping our clients make an impression, build relationships, and retain their clients by offering year-round corporate gifting. So, that's where our focus is. But as you can imagine, 92 years of business, we have customers that are in their 80s that have been coming to us for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And so we are thrilled to be able to carry on this tradition, help start new ones. And we feel incredibly grateful for the risks that we took to take over this business. And we'll share more about that with you a little bit later.
There have been a lot of them.
That's great. Hey, can I ask a question? This is the first time I've actually spoken with a chocolatier or chocolatiers. What's the difference between good chocolate and grocery store chocolate?
That's a great question. There's a lot of factors that go into it. One of the biggest factors is the actual type of cocoa bean. There are 3 varietals. Some are better than others. I don't want to get too technical, but there's a lot of chocolate grown. Ivory Coast produces the most chocolate out of every country. And then the second most is Ghana. So between those 2 countries, Africa produces about 75 to 80% of the world's chocolate. There is a lot of great chocolate being grown in Central and South America. There's chocolate being grown, in Asia. For me, anytime you can get a chocolate bar that the cocoa is sourced from Central America, South America, you're going to be doing yourself a favor. You're going to get good chocolate. We blend all of our chocolate. We get European chocolate and we get Ecuadorian chocolate. So we're trying to stay true to the brand that they've been selling chocolate for 90 years.
So, but if you go to like larger mass market chocolate, are they diluting it or are they just buying lower quality?
It's lower quality chocolate. Usually there's a higher sugar content to help mask some of the impurities in the chocolate. It's, you hear about American chocolate being muddy chocolate. A lot of Europeans call it dirty chocolate or muddy chocolate. And if you get your chocolate from, I don't want to say anyone, but, one of these large conglomerates, you're going to generally get a pretty poor quality chocolate. Although there are a lot of great American chocolatiers that do bean to bar and that produce their own chocolate. So, it depends what you like. Elizabeth, you like, German Austrian style chocolate, which is a lot different than say a French truffle or a Belgian chocolate or Italian chocolate. Swiss chocolate is very specific type of chocolate. What makes an Austrian German style chocolate is the fact that we use a lot of nuts. We make our own marzipans, a lot of cream fillings, a lot of traditional type fillings, confectioner type fillings. So it's different than say a French bonbon or a French truffle that's fresh cream that has a shelf life of a week or two. We do those types of truffles also, but it's not our bread and butter. I would say our biggest seller is probably our pistachio marzipan, which we've been making the same way since, I don't know, the 60s, 50s or 60s. Yeah. And we have one piece of equipment that is about 70 years old that we make our marzipan on. And the recipe is designed to make the marzipan on this specific piece of equipment that's very difficult you can't get it, and it's difficult to get it repaired if it does break. Thank goodness it hasn't broken in a while.
Knock on some wood for us, guys. Really. Carolyn.
Well, Mike might be able to help
said those words.
Mike might be able to help you if you have that. So next time we're in New York, so we used to go into New York all the time, but of course with COVID, we really got out of the habit. We don't go in that often, but I told Richard I want to hop over to Queens and go to your store. But but I did look at your website for maybe Christmas time, right?
Mhm.
You'll be able to ship then. And I love your website because there's so many choices. You can get dark, you can get milk, you can get this, you can get that, and you can kind of mix and match and put together what you want, right?
You know, it's interesting because I feel like everyone feels like a kid in a candy shop when they come into our store, no matter how old they are. And sometimes the choices can be paralyzing. You know, like it's like, what do I pick? Like, you know, and I'll say to them, like, this is a big decision, right? And they're like, yeah, you know, it is. Like, they really feel. So choices are great. And yes, we make a wide variety of products, but also that can make it challenging. You know, the wonderful thing is that we're open 365 days a year because we have a website. And we only close our store, our retail location in Forest Hills, Queens, 2 days a year. So, you know, you can pick something different every single day of the year, and then you'll get to try everything.
That's a perfect solution, right?
Yeah, we should send it to Mike now. Mike, what do you think?
I'm thinking, I got to tell you, what I'm thinking is they got to start a chocolate of the day club. And what happens is for a little fee of $14.95 a day, we'll send you a piece of chocolate every day. You'll get to sample our entire store, which eliminates all that pain.
I don't know who will sign up for that, but if you would like to be, you know, we are planning on rolling out chocolate subscriptions and like a chocolate of the month, you know, just like wine of the month. So, you know, Michael, you could be our first customer.
I'm on. Do it.
That does that.
Wait a minute. I wanted to be the first
This is our
customer.
show.
Okay, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That was in such poor taste of me. You will be our first, Michael. You'll have to be our second.
I'm going to be in your store tomorrow. So I don't know if they're going to be. Okay.
So I did want to mention something. You know, we talked about risks and entrepreneurs taking those risks, and you know, just to share with you our story about how we took over the chocolate shop. So my husband was driving down Metropolitan Avenue, and he's a pastry chef, and it was always his dream to open a chocolate shop. And he went in to buy me chocolate, and there was a for sale sign on the window. And if you know anything about my husband, he met with the owners that day. And I walked in the door and I saw financials on the kitchen table, and we had a quite colorful conversation. He realized that maybe the timing wasn't so great. That being said, we weighed out the pros and cons, and 4 weeks later we bought the business. And then 4 weeks after that, we opened 10 days before Halloween of 2015. So it really was quite a unbelievable story, but it really did happen. And it goes back to taking risks.
Well, Rachel, that's a great story. You have another story about what you did for people during COVID too.
Yeah. So, you know, again, kind of taking lemons and making into lemonade. We were actually burglarized during the pandemic, and it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to us. It really helped us get clear on our mission and what our values are. And so during the pandemic, we did a few things. One of which is I started an informal business alliance on Metropolitan Avenue. It's called Metro Village of Forest Hills, and it's comprised of about 40 businesses, other, you know, mom and pop shops that have been on the avenue. Some of them are even older than us. And so we have brought holiday lights back to the avenue after 35 years. We have our second annual community day. It's a streetwide scavenger hunt that incorporates 30 businesses. And those are just a few of the things that we're doing with Metro Village. But the other thing that we did, and I would say it's probably our proudest moment at Aigner Chocolates, is during the pandemic, kids were drawing pictures of rainbows, and they were putting them on their windows so that other kids could go out and have a rainbow hunt. Since there wasn't really much to do, you know, kids were going out on walks with their families. So the pandemic hit right before Easter. And we had an enormous amount of chocolate in our showroom. And one of the great things about chocolate is that there's no waste. You can always melt it back down. But we decided to do something different with it. We created the Rainbow Bunny Exchange. And so we asked kids to draw pictures of rainbows and include messages of hope to frontline workers. And in exchange, we would give them a chocolate bunny pop. Our goal was to collect 100 rainbows. We ended up collecting 315 rainbows. And so we donated 315 pops. If you go to Elmhurst Hospital, which is only a few miles away from the chocolate shop, there is on permanent display a mural. It's a rainbow of rainbows from what we did. And then when the Omicron variant hit back in January, which it wasn't really that long ago, we decided to do flower power. We collected 1,503 pictures of flowers that went to pediatric units at hospitals across New York City. And we donated 1,503 flower pops. So throughout the pandemic, we've donated over $25,000 worth of chocolate. And that's why we say our mission really is to spread joy and hope to communities through the magic of our chocolate.
Well, that's really sweet. And I would just also want to point out that even though I don't necessarily have a reputation as a looter, if I was going to loot a store, I would probably loot a chocolate shop over just about anything else. So I kind so anyway, but no,
Hey,
that's
Rachel,
really.
I'm curious. What did you used to do before this? I know Mark used to be a pastry chef, and
Yeah,
that's
that's a
skill in
great
itself.
question. So I am actually a licensed clinical social worker, and I worked in drug addiction for 10 years. So my line is that I used to help people abstain, and now I help enable addiction. And I owe everything to my clients because they taught me all you need to do is give them the first one for free and you get them hooked for life.
Yeah, sort of like Mike's theory of business, right? Do a good job the first time.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and,
That's all you have to do. Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what's your top seller?
There's some debate about that.
Yeah.
So the pistachio marzipan, I think, is one of our big sellers. We do sell a lot of caramels. We make a phenomenal caramel, and we do it in all different types of flavor combinations. So by volume, probably caramel is our top seller. Yeah.
No,
I can see, you guys can't see this unless you look at YouTube and it shows everybody, but Carolyn Babrite knows these guys. She's going on next and she's sitting here giving him like these pointer fingers going, yes, and making expressions. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, Carolyn knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
So anyway, I think it's time to wind down the
time
segment.
to go on to Caroline. So
But
Hey, wait 1 second. Let me ask one more question, Richard, if you don't mind.
sure.
Is
No,
there
of
any
course.
kind of synergy that could happen between Rachel, between you, Mark, and Caroline? I mean, is there any kind of cooperation that could occur with her flavored sugars and your wonderful tasty chocolates?
You know,
No?
we've been trying to figure that out. You know, Carolyn and I do know each other. We do have a coffee bar, which Carolyn knows about at our shop. So, you know, potentially maybe we could offer her flavored sugars there. You know, we do, because we make our own caramel, we add our own caramel to our coffee drinks.
All right.
You
right
know,
on.
so, but, you know, I am a huge supporter of Carolyn. We've made introductions for one another. And I think there are a lot of ways to help one another without sometimes always doing direct business per se. And, you know, we're on the restaurant and hospitality committee with the Queen's Chamber, and there's nothing like supporting another, you know, female entrepreneur, you know, making her dreams come true.
excellent. So Rachel, can you please spell the name of your company and give the location?
Sure. So it's Eigner chocolates, like eyeball and ice cream. We get that mixed up a lot with other names, and it's AIGNER chocolates. And our website is pretty easy. It's eignerchocolates.com.
And where's your physical?
Forest Hills,
Forest-
Queens on Metropolitan Avenue
Okay.
In New York.
in New York.
In
Yes.
New York.
Okay, great. So I know we've been talking a lot about Carolyn and nobody's heard from her yet, except for
She's
the
like
first.
the mystery
So
guest.
the mystery woman.
The
So
mystery guest.
Carolyn is also a Gearhart Law client, and she's been on Passage to Profit before, so she's old hand at this. But she has Javamelts, which I guess you all know is flavored sugars at this point. So Carolyn, can you please give us your 2-minute introduction about your company?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name's Carolyn Babrite, and I'm the founder and president of Javamelts Flavored Sugar. Javamelts Flavored Sugar are vegan, kosher, gluten-free, non-GMO, shelf-stable for 3 years, and are in recyclable packaging. They're made from pure cane sugar and natural flavor. They come in 4 delicious gourmet flavors: hazelnut, mocha, French vanilla, and caramel. And we offer them in sugar packets in recyclable packaging, which I'm very happy about, and 1.5 pound granulated pouch bags. So Javamelts flavored sugar is not only just used for delicious gourmet coffees and teas, but now you can bake with them and create artisan cocktails and more. So I thought of Javamelts on Valentine's Day in 2016. I was having a cup of coffee with my husband, and he offered to go get me a specialty cup, and it was cold here in New York. And I said, no, we'll just have coffee here. And alongside of me were individually wrapped caramel and marshmallow, candy hearts. And I had my aha moment. I picked one up, which is now Javamelts flavored sugar. And I said, wouldn't it be amazing if I could open this up and drop it into my coffee or tea and instantly have a European inspired gourmet flavored specialty coffee without having to go anywhere, without having to spare the expense of $5 or $6 or maybe even $7 by now. And my brain just, it exploded. So here I am. I have 3 daughters. Danielle, Kelly, and Jessica. I'm a proud mom, and I have a family crest on all of my packaging, has their initials DKJ with a little heart for my love for my family, and also symbolizing the day that I thought of Javamelts flavored sugar on Valentine's Day. I am a certified woman-owned company, and I'm just so beyond blessed to have this opportunity. So thank you.
Carolyn, I'm looking at the write-up and something just occurred to me. So during the summer, Richard sometimes likes to make martinis, and you have to make this simple sugar for it. Because I see you said cocktails here. These would be awesome in simple sugars, right?
Yeah, so you can make simple syrup is made with 1 part water and 1, 2, or 3 parts of our flavored sugar. You can simply make it at home, and you could sugar rim the cocktail glasses. Where I always say where there is sugar, there should be flavored sugar. You could even make confectioner sugar out of Javamelts flavored sugar by just adding cornstarch in a blender and blend it a minute or 2, and it's done. Could have flavored whipped creams and creme brulee and pancakes and flavored waffles and crepes, and it just goes on and on and on. So I always say homemakers, bakers, baristas, and bartenders, either professionally trained or self-taught, all you do-it-yourselfers out there, Javamelts should be a staple in any, home or place of business for sure.
Right. I could see sprinkling this on Christmas cookies, the sugar
Absolutely.
cookies.
Mm-hmm.
And that
sounds great already.
I can see myself gaining
But,
50 pounds here.
But the Javamelt product has evolved because it used to be like cubes, right? It used cubes of sugar, and it was mostly for drinks. But now changing it just to regular ground sugar opens up a whole new world of possibilities, right?
Absolutely. So I started out in 2016. I launched 2017, which is pretty lightning fast for a brand new company launching a new concept. So I'm very proud of that. But originally, our patent pending is on the original formulation where Javamelts were individually wrapped like little pieces of chocolate, which Rachel, and they did really well. And I was a national award winner several times. And then when COVID hit, we actually lost the entire company. We lost our original manufacturer, went out of business because he couldn't stay open. He helped me find a second manufacturer. They stopped producing for us because their primary business was growing exponentially. So we've, we talk about resilience, and we talk about, Mike and Rachel, like facing adversity and rising above it and not quitting. So while that was happening, and as well as my Amazon site was shut down during the 4th quarter, which is our busiest season, of course, because it was erroneously connected to somebody else. I just I literally was treading water. I was going under. I pivoted. I shifted gears. I didn't let anybody see me sweat. I just stayed quiet. And I said, okay, Carolyn, we have to do something and we have to do it quick. So while my original company and my original product was faltering, I decided to, and by the grace of God, I was able to do it, very resourceful. I asked for help. I literally reached out to anybody and everybody that I knew. And I said, you know, I can't quit now. I have 3 amazing daughters. And what would I be teaching them if I decided to stop now? Like, I know that I have something special. I am first to market. I am beyond proud of all of my milestones. Entrepreneur Magazine, iHeartRadio multiple times, Passage to Profit, so grateful. You know, QVC, Joy Mangano's America's Big Deal. I was live on television in front of, millions of people. It's just, so I just said, you know what, I'm going to dig my heels in, and we came out with a better version. I'm kosher. I'm pure cane sugar and natural flavors. There's no additives. I have recyclable packaging. Like you said, Richard, it's just a better product. So I didn't focus on the negative. I just said, okay, what are my goals? And I have to come out bigger, better, and stronger than before. And here I am.
That's an amazing story.
That is so inspiring.
And when you went on America's Big Deal, you were really sick, right?
Yeah, actually, they actually thought I had shingles. So America's Big Deal was in fact a big deal. And I have to shout out a special thank you to USA Network, Joy Mangano, Scott Evans, like just an incredible experience. And I was really stressed out. They moved my show up and I had to get my product packaged and ready and shipped many weeks before I originally had to. So I broke out with this awful rash on my face, and they didn't know what it was. And I kept I went to a doctor, went to another doctor. They're like, oh, it's shingles. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And they put me on an abundance of different medications, steroids and antivirals. And I was a complete mess. So I just said, okay, the show must go on. So I have this incredible makeup artist here on Long Island. She's another female entrepreneur. I would love to introduce her to you. And I called her up literally in tears. And I said, could you please do my makeup for the show? I'm going to get special permission because without feeling beautiful, I'm going to be in front of millions of people. I need your help. And she made me look like absolutely perfect. You would never know. They put me in the green room. They kept me separated from everybody. I was really like just in a state, and I wasn't feeling well because they put me on all this medication. And anybody who knows, taking medicine and then being under regular stress, but then adding additional stress. But I did it. And wow. My children were in the audience. My in-laws were in the audience. My husband, my biggest supporter. I just, the show must go on and you have to rise above. So that's it, perseverance and, the drive to succeed and the willingness to do things that ordinary individuals wouldn't ever think or dream of doing. That's me. I take the impossible and I say, I'm possible.
You sound like Mike. We got to hear from Mike on this, right?
Yeah, but I want to before we go, Carolyn, I definitely want to read your book because this is really would inspire a lot of people. So
what's the name of the book?
It's in my head still. No, actually.
I was trying to encourage you to write one. So anyway,
we have to give Mike a chance to ask a question.
Okay, so the name of the book is Sweetie Sugar. Okay. And I have to ask you, did she do your makeup again today?
No, actually I did it myself, but thank you.
It was totally meant to be a compliment. I felt your passion, man. When you were talking there, I felt emotion. I felt passion. I felt your drive. And that's what it takes. And that's why you're successful, because you have it. And so does, Rachel and Mark and Elizabeth. And it really is a matter of never giving up. And when you have diversity, just, power through it. Don't look behind you. You can't do nothing about the past, right? But just go forward, grind it out, make it happen. Your family, I was checking out your website, I checked out your Facebook page. Beautiful family, beautiful everything. I hope nothing but the best for you and your entire family. I love that you put that crest on all your products. I think that was really cool too. Nice little detail. Details really make it happen. And Rachel and Mark, you guys were awesome as well. Really, I think I've learned something from both of you today. Well, three of you, I should say. And that is that, there are people out there that really care about what they do. And that's why we're successful. That's why things really do work, because it's not always, a great day. It's being a business owner doesn't mean you get to take off when you want to take off. I'd rather be in Florida right now, floating on a boat. I'm sitting in New Jersey talking to you guys.
Well, we should have gone out to your boat with you.
As good as the boat, right?
Yeah, we should have all met you on your boat.
Let's put it this way: it's your guests, so the reason why I keep coming back, Richard.
So, Carolyn, seriously, I do have to say, getting a rash on my face would be a huge deterrent, but you overcame that obstacle. And that's what's so amazing about this. I don't think anything's going to stop you. And I just have to say, what are you doing for marketing? Where are you selling this now?
Yeah. So since I launched the new product line of Javamelts flavored sugar was probably the spring of last year, I started out slow, and social media has been really a blessing for me. I grew my Instagram from 960 followers last year to 10,100 followers to date.
Wow.
And I get up every morning and I have a team, an amazing team, like Mike and Rachel talk about having an amazing team, and Mark they see my vision, and I direct them, and I do everything that I possibly can do for myself, so that, because I have limited funds, I am bootstrapped, and I definitely took a huge hit during COVID. Thank God all three of my daughters were through college at that time. So I'm only responsible for myself and my husband respectively. So I just work tirelessly getting the word out there. I have over 14,000 connections on LinkedIn. I'm very, very proud of the people that I've met on LinkedIn. And I'm just a go-getter. I have a business consultant who said to me when he first met me, he's like, Carolyn, your biggest asset is your energy and your willingness to put yourself out there without any regard of any negativity. So I've gotten a gazillion no's, and some of the no's are now turning into yeses, which is my biggest accomplishment to date. Javamelts is available on javamelts.com. I am proudly on Amazon Prime, and my rating is a 4.1 out of 5 organically, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. And I also, because of all of my press, so I put myself out there. I'll go on live TV. I would speak in front of 10,000 people, 1 million people. You could put me in a stadium and I've got it. Like, no problems, no questions asked. I take advantage of every opportunity I can get. I always help people get to where they want to be. And I really am a firm believer in paying it forward and showing my daughters that life isn't about just, creating products, but life is about people and connecting them and sharing experiences and making this world a better place for everybody. I also offer Javamelts on wholesale sites such as Fair, Mabel, and Bulletin. And I am proud to say that I just got into the Aramark healthcare system. Wow. And Javamelts is being offered at area hospitals in Pennsylvania and New Jersey to start. And the feedback right now is people love the product, the healthcare workers and the families that are visiting the hospitals waiting for their loved ones. They bring them to their loved ones. And, you know, it's pure cane sugar and natural flavor. The aroma and the taste is second to none. And you know, it just makes me feel good that one packet at a time, one cup of coffee, one baked good at a time, like I'm enriching people's lives and showing them that you can do anything that you set your mind to.
Excellent. And you have 4 flavors right now: hazelnut, mocha, French vanilla, and caramel. I get to ask one last question, then we have to wrap this up. Which one is your top seller?
Caramel.
Okay. Oh, you and the Aigner chocolates. Everybody loves caramel. Okay, I guess we know.
I guess that's an informal survey, right?
Right.
You know, get caramel for your friends at Christmas.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. So again, it's javamelts.com. That's pretty easy to remember. And listeners, you are listening to Passage to Profit, Road to Entrepreneurship with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, our special guest, Michael Rose. And we will be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Passage to Profit. It has been a really great show, I think. I just really
sweet show.
It's been sweet. Yes, I really love the energy that all of our guests have brought to the program. And but before we sign off, we have our favorite question. I guess our question of the week is what we need to call this
question of the week.
segment.
Yes. So the question this week is, what's the best advice you've ever gotten from anyone?
But regular listeners of the show will recognize that last week the question was, what is the worst advice?
So this week is, what's the best advice? So Mike, you're on the hot seat first. You're on mute.
It's real simple. Don't buy it unless you can afford it.
Oh,
that's
okay.
a good one. I
Yeah.
like that.
So have you always followed that advice?
100%. I built all my companies with absolutely zero debt, zero financing, all self-funded. Never bought either my houses, cars, no mortgages, all my buildings paid COD cash every time.
You are probably like one of like 0.00001% of people in the world that do that.
And it's something I learned from my dad. I used to borrow money from him to go out on a Friday, like $50. And, you know, at that stage, I maybe made $200 a week. Saturday, I'd borrow another $50. Monday, I'd get paid. I'd hit into my paycheck, and I had nothing for the rest of the week. So I learned never borrow. Just don't buy it unless you can afford it. And I've done that with every one of my cars, my houses, like I said, everything I want.
Wow.
I have no debt.
You probably don't have too many bankers as friends.
Actually, that's not true at all. I am solicited by dozens of private equity companies every single day.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Ever since that first deal I did, it was a huge deal. It put me on the map for PE firms. They want me to run their companies. They want me to take over things for them. They want to buy my company. I'm a young man. I'm only 60. I got a lot of time left, man. I got at least 40 years left. So
there you go.
Hopefully more.
So
I'll be good with 40. It's all right. It's okay.
So Rachel and Mike, what was the best advice you ever got?
Want to go first?
Rachel and Mark.
Don't go into
Rachel,
business with your wife.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that one.
Don't go into business with your significant other. I didn't take that advice though, so it's worked out pretty well. But
you guys look like you're smiling, man. So it's okay.
That's good.
What about you,
we're
Rachel?
jacked on chocolate. Yeah. Actually, seriously, with owning a business, we love what we do, and for us, it doesn't even feel like work. So my suggestion would be.
That was what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay, here you
Go
go.
ahead.
I'm sorry, did I steal your thunder? So yeah, I mean, you gotta love what you do. You have to have the drive, you have to have the motivation, all of that. But we work from the moment we get up almost to the moment we go to bed some days. And if you don't love what you do, it's not gonna work. Yeah.
So I was gonna say that. So now I'm gonna say something else. So this is a little bit more specific, and I think focuses on what I usually always go back to. So we were trying to make a decision about whether to buy the business. And my brother, who's in finance, said to me, you can go to therapy and work on the resentment you'll feel towards Mark if you say yes to this opportunity and it doesn't work out. But you cannot control if he resents you for the rest of your life. if you say no to this opportunity of buying the chocolate shop. And he was right. You know, this has, if I didn't say yes, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to all of you today. And so I think it's really important to recognize that the only one that you can control, the only one that you really have power over in your life is you, you know? And if you go to enough therapy, you can process it all. And if you're in enough therapy, you know, individual, couple, business coaching, you could be smiling too while you're being.
So great.
That's precious.
So
Yeah.
Carolyn, best advice.
This is a tough question for me, actually, because I'm normally the person that gives people advice more than I seek to receive it. So I'm struggling with the best advice that I've gotten from people, but I am probably going to say, when you feel defeated, use the defeat to feed your willingness and your drive to propel you forward. So I have a mentor that has seen me broken over COVID and a few other things. And I said, I know I'm close, but I'm affecting other people in my life. Giving up family vacations because, like Mike said, if you can't afford it, you don't go. So I'm giving up, you know, a lot, sacrificing a lot today so I could live like other people can't the rest of their life, right? So I feel that when you have negativity, it's almost like the slingshot is pulling you back. That's how I envisioned what he was telling me. And I would lay in bed at night and I would say, it's bad. It might get worse and you've been through worse, but count your blessings. You have your health. You have a roof over your head. You have a family and friends and colleagues that love you and respect you. You can do this. And now I feel like that slingshot is so pulled back that when I let it go and it's like ready, I'm like the boulder on top of the hill right now, that the view from the top is going to be undeniably worth all the sacrifice that I've put me and my family. And I am very grateful that my family has not allowed me to give up because of them, because my husband especially, I thank him every day. And he's like, Carolyn, I believe in you. You're going to make this work in such a big way. So just hang in there. So I would say that that would be something that I would want other people to believe too and grow from.
Excellent.
That's great. Thank you.
Richard.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm sort of saying, I think there's like a common thread to what everybody has been talking about here. And so one mentor of mine once told me, he said, if you want to be a better leader, work on yourself. And so, and that's really true. Leadership or success or whatever is, in my opinion, all about how you grow and develop as a person. And that allows you, it gives you different skills. It gives you better relationships. And I think that is probably the best advice that I've ever received. So,
good. Well, now it's my turn. So I think a really good piece of advice I got was actually from Richard when he was starting the firm and he was going through all this stuff. And he said, you know, you really have to just listen to people. So if you're going to get clients, if you're going to work with other people, don't go in their face and tell them how great you are, which is kind of what you tend to do, especially if you came from corporate where you're supposed to be impressing everybody all the time, right? Take a step back and really listen to what other people are saying and what they really want. And I think that's made him a successful attorney because he really listens to his clients instead of trying to say, well, you know, I'm like the greatest lawyer since sliced bread or whatever. So I think just really listening to people was a really great piece of advice. So
I hear you. Yeah.
Did you listen to that?
I heard that. Well,
So-
thank you for that.
So those were great answers, everybody. You know, it really gets down to the human experience and how we connect with each other, I think.
Yeah.
Those are really good answers. So now it is time for the wrap up.
Right.
So I'm going to go through everybody's website and how you can get a hold of them. So our guest was Mike Rose with MikeRose.com. I think that's pretty easy to spell, so I'm not going to spell it out. Mike has a number of different companies and he can help you in a number of different ways. And the way he runs his companies is really great. It's transparent. You know what you're getting when you pay for something. So I would definitely go to Mike Rose. I'm definitely going to MikeRose.com after this show to find some services from him.
I have to say, I've really enjoyed his powerful presence and his personality and his intelligence. I really like the way that comes through on the show. And I'm sure it comes through in every aspect of his business and his life.
Absolutely.
Are we talking about this Mike Rose?
Yeah,
We are.
Absolutely.
So,
Hey, wait, and one thing, may I ask one question real quick?
Sure.
You know, Elizabeth, you told us you were going to tell us about your startup, and I don't think
Oh,
you ever got around to that.
yeah, it's so ingrained in my brain. So it's a video directory of small businesses, but it's like this huge spider web. There are a lot of components to it that are too much to go into now. So it's people saying why they're better than everybody else in just a couple seconds and going into a directory and then having longer videos after that. So there are a few other video directories there were when I started, but mine is going to be very structured and very clean, and you're going to actually be able to find what you're looking for. So I am right now, I'm doing everything myself, except I do have a website now that doesn't really work. That's why I had to go the next step to get programmers for the back end for a website that will really work. And I've been doing interviews myself of business owners, which I absolutely love doing. That is my favorite part of the business. And that's where I'm going with this.
Sounds like it's good service. It sounds like it'd be very good to have. And the other question I have is, Carolyn, are you looking for any private equity money for growth?
I actually am looking for strategic partner. Money has never really been an issue, thank God, because I work my tail off and my husband and I so I'm able to hang in there. But yes, I'm looking for strategic money. So I'm looking for a partnership. I actually just shipped out 2 kits today to a potential strategic investor, people who are familiar with building businesses and then having either an exit strategy or partial exit strategy. But 100% yes. I always say, I resonated with what you said, Mike, earlier, where, you should never be the smartest person in the room, because if you are, you're in the wrong room. And I've had people work for me that graduated from Harvard Law School, and I have a 2-year paralegal degree. Not that I'm not proud of it, but it's what my family could afford at the time for me to have any college education. So, you take your assets and you collectively succeed with a team of people that nobody can succeed on their own. So 100%. And that's amazing that you said that, because I think you're an incredible person, and I'm sure I could learn a lot from you and what paths you've taken.
Excellent. So that was Mike Rose and Carolyn. So MikeRose.com, and Carolyn, you can find at Javamelts.com, Javamelts flavored sugar. And she's really making a splash.
And you can use it in all sorts of different products.
All sorts of,
not just coffee and tea, but everything.
I want to try it in simple syrup for the cocktails. I also want to put it on my Christmas cookies.
That sounds great.
And we had Rachel Kellner and Mark Libertini with Aigner Chocolates, AIGNER Chocolates. They have a website, AignerChocolates.com. Right now, during these hot months of summer, you can find them in Queens, New York. I'm a little scared to go into their shop because I imagine I'll come out 5 pounds heavier.
Yeah, and you get them the old fashioned. They're made the old fashioned way, by hand, right? I mean, what could be better than that? So
I thought that was a great show.
So we need to sign off now for this week, but we'll return to the station next week with another episode of Passage to Profit. But before we go, I'd like to thank the Passage to Profit team, Noah Fleischman, our producer, Alicia Morrissey, our program director, and Mark Wilson, our syndication manager. Our podcast can be found tomorrow anywhere you find your podcast. Just look for the Passage to Profit show. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And remember, while the information provided on this program is believed to be correct, never take a legal step without checking with your legal professional first. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.